SFO, LAX. Lose an hour, gain an hour.
I mean, I love waking up in the morning not knowing what's gonna happen or who I'm gonna meet, where I'm gonna wind up.
Once you cross the ocean and cut yourself loose, looking for something more beautiful, something more exciting, and yes, I admit, something more dangerous.
Next time, let's go first class, all right?
Check-in for that flight doesn't begin for another 2 hours, sir.
This is your life, and it's ending 1 minute at a time.
What is good, Mr. J57?
Man,
how are you doing,
good.
sir?
Good.
Good to finally meet.
Yes.
It's cool, man. Have you out here in LA, man.
A blessing, bro.
What you doing out here? Let us know.
Meetings, studio sessions, interviews,
Dope.
that kind of stuff.
Let's get into it, man. Let's
go.
Let's find out who you are. You're originally from Long Island.
Yep.
Moved to New York.
Yeah, bro.
Started working at Fat Beats. Tell us about that.
Yeah, man. So I worked. First time I went to Fat Beats was late 1999 or summer 1999.
Pause. For the kids that don't know, Fat Beats is
Fat Beats is the most legendary hip hop record store of all time. Fact.
ever.
Fact. So, went there in 1999 with a couple of my boys. And then you fast forward a few years, I got an internship there in September 04. And then by May 05, I got hired. And I was like graduating college and all that kind of stuff. And as soon as I finished that on Long Island, I moved to Brooklyn. And then I lived there 10 years. But I worked at Fat Beats from, May 05, technically May, really 04 though, till the day it closed, September, 5th, 2010. Damn. And I met everybody, a lot of my idols there, man, from Kool Herc, who's the whole reason hip hop exists, to, I don't know, DJ Premier, Eminem, Alchemist, like, dude, the list is Eclipse, Ill Bill, you know what I'm saying? Like, people I grew up listening to, it's just insane, it changed my life.
Tell us about those stories, man. I can only imagine about the people going through the New York store. I remember being a kid, my older brother's a DJ, so we would always drive from the IE to Hollywood to the Fat Beats store.
Dope.
And I remember just going, being a kid, seeing all the records on the store, going, listening to the records, and then there'd always be meet and greets. So I got to meet a lot of people at the LA store too, like Evidence early on, like a lot of people like that. So just tell us about those early stories and meeting Eminem and Primo.
Okay, I'll start with like a baby story, a prequel. No, really, this one is when I was interning still. It was February. My birthday's February 6th. It was February 6th, 2005. I wasn't hired yet. I was interning, and they forgot to tell me that the store was gonna be closed that day because Chappelle's show was coming in to have Dead Prez do Bigger Than Hip Hop for the new season.
Wow.
Yeah, so I get there, and I took the commute from Long Island, which is an hour and 15 each way. Not even talking about the 20-minute drive from my parents' house that I lived at to the train station. You know what I mean? And then the subway. Once I got to the city, I was like, yo, really? They're closed? And then somebody actually came. They're like, what are you doing here? They didn't tell you? I'm like, no. And I'm like, also it's my birthday, by the way. You know what I'm saying? Like, way to ruin my birthday, make me waste all my time. And then they're like, all right, just come in here. And nobody told me what was going on. And all of a sudden, Dead Prez comes in. All the characters that are. Like the guy who does the robot and all them from Chappelle's show come walking in. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I'm like figuring it out. I kind of put two and two together. And that was when Dave Chappelle was like, MIA, but he wasn't yet publicly. So everyone thought he was coming. And then last minute they're like, yeah, he's still not coming, man. Like he's got the flu or whatever. So we got to see the Bigger Than Hip Hop thing happen there, and they did it over and over again. It was really dope. And I got to meet everybody, which was really cool. And I think that video footage is on the DVD set or something. I don't really know, but something like that. So that was a cool one. I always forget to tell people that one. But then DJ Premier, man, before I met him in 06 at a show, it was Pharoah Monch and me and Audible Doctor were there, and we were drunk and we were just kids, and we're like, yo, we're big fans, geeking out and stuff. He just put out the album Christina Aguilera, you know what I mean, that week. So it was just through the roof for him. He's super cool, never forget that. And then you fast forward 5 years or 4 years, and I'm in the studio with SOCOM, and then the rest of Brown Bag All Stars is my group. The rest of Brown Bag is at the store working, because we all met working there, and we got a call and they're like, yo, Premier wants our song. We had a new single that came out. I'm like, what the hell? How does he even know about us? And shouts to the homie DJ Dilemma, who was interning at the store at the time. OC and Preem were just walking around the store looking at records together, and he strategically played the new Brown Bag All Stars song, which was called The Workhorse. He played that just to get their attention, which is really cool of him to do that. He could have done it for his own music, but he did it for us. And both of them came running up to Audible, who was at the counter, and was like, yo, here's my email, send us this song. Preem's like, I want to play it. OC's like, I want to build, whatever, I just want to know who you are kind of stuff. You're like, who are you kids? And you would think it ended right there, but he didn't play it, and then he kept calling the store about different stuff, Premier, and I was like, I'm like, yeah, I'm that kid from Brown Bag or whatever. And he's like, yo, here's my email, like send me the song. And actually we stemmed a friendship from that, which is kind of crazy. And on a lot of levels, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that was definitely one of them. And the Eminem one, there's not much of a story. It's like Alchemist came in, which maybe like the 4th or 5th time I met him at the store, gave him a pound. I was like, this is crazy. Mr. Porter was there. I'm like, this is crazy. And then I see Paul Rosenberg. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And then I see all these like bodyguards, and I'm like, this is bizarre. And then I look down. I'm like, oh, yo. And I see it's Eminem, and he saw that I recognized who he was. He gave me a pound, and we just chopped it up about old school hip hop for like a half hour, talking about like cold chillin' and stuff like that, which is kind of random, but that's where that's where he comes from. So yeah, that was really cool.
Man, that's epic. And yeah, I remember hearing that Brown Bag all worked at Fat Beats, and that's how you guys initially met. Let's talk about meeting SOCOM, meeting the whole crew, how that formed and everything.
Yeah, so actually I kind of met everybody individually myself and sort of brought them in the same room, and we all just became like brothers, you know what I mean? And I met Audible first. I was an intern, I needed like a day off. I had to go like away or something, and like they're like, yo, call Mark. That's his real name, like call Mark, he'll fill in for you maybe. I called him and he's like, I don't know, man. I'm like, yo, I'll pay you like $40. And he's like, all right, I'll do it. And I didn't know him, so he filled in that day. And then I didn't see him for mad long. And then like I got hired months later, and he interned for me that day. He ended up working later on, but he interned for me, and I'm like, wait, you're that Mark from like a few months ago? I'm like, I went right to the ATM, gave him the $40, and he was like, we just became like brothers like immediately, just like on some shit. And then E-Holla too, DJ E-Holla, around the exact same time. And then you fast forward a little bit, it was like, oh, actually before all that was DJ Element. Shouts to DJ Element. I met him in late '04, right when I started interning at Fat Beats. And I met him through El Gant. They were in the studio together, and I was going to that session. And so I kind of knew everybody. And then like SoulCon was June something, 2007. And man, I heard that kid's voice, and I was like, yo, he's on some shit. So it's like we kind of all were just going to events together. I was working, so they were calling the store, being like, yo, you're on the guest list for the Sadat X show tonight. Well, insert name. And I'd be like, all right, my name was J Logic at the time. Instead of being like J Logic plus 12 people, I'd be like, yo, put Brown Bag All Stars. Because we were drinking in the store first, pre-gaming. And in New York City, you kind of have to have a brown bag on the 40 when you leave the store, or the guy won't sell it to you. Like he could get a ticket and like a lot of trouble. So there was just brown bags all over the store so many times, it just kind of turned into that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's dope. Around this time, that was when SOCOM was battling already?
A couple years later, 2 years later. I was kind of like, grooming him as an artist at that point, like really producing him and like teaching him that part of the game. He knew a lot himself, but from a producer's aspect and coming up with game plans for him and stuff like that. That was that time.
So this is around the time you started managing SOCOM.
Yes, you knew that?
Yeah. I
know more now?
I do my research, man.
Nobody knows that. I had to just tell Rick Chavez that.
I do my research, man. So so that transition from Brown Bag to managing SOCOM.
Yeah, man. Yep.
Around the same time, you guys started having like success as the crew.
Yeah.
How did that start, and how did it start rolling?
So good. Honestly, we were doing 2 shows a week minimum around New York City all of 2008. So
as a group?
As Brown Bag All Stars. And SoulCon started battling at the end of that year, like I think it was like late 2008, and that obviously brought us to another level on so many levels. Like we game planned the whole thing. We were like, let's take snippets from SoulCon's new single, let's take a snippet from Brown Bag single, have it in the beginning of the battle, and we talked. I was able to build with the homie Lush One, shouts to him. And Organic later on, like all of them, I was building, being like, yo, because I have a marketing background from school and stuff, so I was like, we need to market this properly. Like you got millions of people, and at the time we had tens of thousands of people, and we were doing it in our mind, which is still a big deal, but we were like, this is it, we're out of here, we got 10,000 views on that battle, you know what I mean? Like, let's get our song in there, and then we got at least maybe 10,000 people who hear the name, and we get 1,000 people liking our music, and he kind of became a YouTube celebrity for a little bit, what I'm saying, from the battle thing. He was going super viral, so he was getting millions and millions of views, and when we dropped his album Soul Icon, that I produced majority of and oversaw the whole thing, dude, that first day alone, we got 100,000 downloads.
Oh, wow.
100,000.
Dat Piff?
No, there's like media, like one of those things that don't exist anymore, like Media Fire or Media shit, whatever one doesn't exist. And we had the analytics and everything to show like labels that were interested and whatever. It was cool. Damn. But that's how it all stemmed. It stemmed from that, but also the synergy of 2009 when we did Brown Bag Season. So we learned a little bit about the blog game during 2008 when we were just becoming, it was like a physical thing, Brown Bag All Stars. It wasn't digital yet. You know what I'm saying? There was nothing on iTunes. There was nothing on the blogs. There was no anything yet. So we were just going around doing shows, meeting people, like all these people who were like big or big-ish now, whatever. Like we all came up with them, and people don't realize it probably. and we kind of were just in real life with people. We weren't even about that internet shit. Wasn't against it, but we didn't understand it. And then the homie J57, he actually put me on game about the blog game. He was like, this is how it works, da 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 da. And I'm like, all right, what we're gonna do is, I sat everybody down, like, we're gonna go and make a ton of songs. I don't know who came up with Brown Bag Season. I don't know if it was me, I can't remember, but we're gonna make a ton of songs, stockpile them, and then for like a stretch of time, maybe a couple of months in 2009, we're gonna drop like 2 songs a week and keep hitting the blogs, and we're gonna feature our homies who have a name on the blog world, like in the blog world. So it ain't nothing for them to come to the studio and like feature like Sky Zoo. Like I was the first song of that thing was me featuring Sky Zoo, and that was just like my boy for like 6 years by then. You know what I mean? And that was kind of the thing that blew up Brown Bag on the internet with the blogs and stuff, and created like crazy like relationships and fans. You know what I'm saying? And then you bring the SOCOM thing on top of it, and it was just like, you know what I mean? Like that really was it. Yeah.
There's a lot of good things happening at a right time, because 2008-9 is probably like the prime of the blog era, right?
It really was. Yeah.
When I came in, I'm probably a little younger, but I was kind of like the end of the blog era, and now it's kind of like, what's a blog? You know what I mean? Like, people
literally.
Now it's kind of like the playlist game is like the blog game.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. I didn't really factor in all those, like, I remember seeing SOCOM too around that time, really blowing up off the battles. I remember watching all the battles and all that stuff too. That's dope.
Yeah, that's dope.
So when you were kind of managing, facilitating all that, is that where you kind of got the idea for starting the collective?
Yo, you know what, man? So I had 57 Group, it was called, and that was my management group, which was literally me, and I managed SOCOM and Scene, SENE. I was just managing them too, and I was producing them both. And you know, at the time, Scene was just released an album with Blue, and I didn't know Blue yet, so I was like, yo, that's crazy, you know, like bugging out and trying to like understand how Exile thinks as a producer by learning from them. So it was just like, I was learning about the West Coast underground scene, and I was at the same time immersed in the New York scene, and that was it. It was just starting from that, and I guess the mentality of that scene, of the kid scene, not the thing, and SoulCon, it kind of became my mentality later on when I started a thing called 57 Music, which evolved into 57 Collective, and then became a label as well.
So from Brown Bag to SOCOM managing and all that, like when you started becoming a solo artist, started releasing your stuff, you started releasing it under your own print?
Well, actually, my stuff, no, I think it was Brown Bag Records, which is through Soul Spasm. I think that might have been the first, I think that might have been, no, Soul Spasm, that was it. Because I was late to dropping solo stuff, because I was just so doing everybody else's
business
stuff. Yeah, I was doing everyone's beats, I was doing the business side, and I wanted to do my own thing, but I just didn't have it yet, because I was so worn thin from building up these guys who were more of a sure shot at the moment, for obvious reasons, you know what I'm saying? And I loved the music that we were creating. So I was doing that with a lot of people, mainly, you know, SoulCon and a couple other people, but I was doing it for a lot of people at the time. And then one day I kind of just took a step back and I was like, I don't have any solo material out. And I dropped my first single was a producer single. I didn't even rap on it. It was me and Bronson and Mayhem and Rashid Chappelle and Matthew Ragazzino, and I want to say that was 2012. So I didn't drop any rapidy rap stuff until 2014. January 2014 was Wax Aesthetic, and that was me rapping on mainly other people's beats to show that I could rap and stand on my own too.
Yeah.
But I wasn't coming into my own sound-wise yet, like I have now. You know what I mean? So that's kind of why it took a little longer.
So where we at with the solo career now? What you working on? I know you got tons of projects in the works. Can you let us know?
Yeah. I mean, I have a bunch of solo stuff out that's on all platforms. You know what I mean? If you just look up J57. But I have my new album, I think it's going to come out next month. I'm trying to see if I get the content right in time. And I'm actually, that's my second album. My third one is probably semi-close to being finished. And I produce all my own stuff, you know what I mean? And again, it's really eclectic, it's really just big sounding, and super rooted in boom bap, obviously, but it's eclectic, you know what I mean? And I guess that's all I can say about that, because I'm working on just way too many collaborative projects, not in a bad way, but like, I don't even want to go down the list because it's insane. I mean, we have one. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, real talk. Like, I have stuff that's outside of hip hop. I have a lot of indie rock stuff that I'm doing with groups that I'm in, where I'm like even vocalist and producer, whatever. And then a jazz album, an Americana album, like 2 jazz albums. Like, I have a lot of stuff coming out, so I'm just excited.
Production credits. Seeing you being busy on that, from Meth to West to a lot of people. Let us know who you've been producing for and some of the big records that you've done.
Okay. Method Man, Inspector Deck, and Raekwon, Purple Tape, did that. I did West Side Gun, Big L and Half a Mil, which is the first track on Hitler Wears Hermes 2. La Coca Nostra, Dark Day Road, which was the first track on their last album. Joey Badass. I can't remember what we ended up calling the song. There's 2 different titles, but Big Papa Swank, I think it's called. And that was supposed to be the lead single off his first album, and then it didn't make sense on the album. Then it was gonna be the lead single on the second album, and then it didn't make sense on that album. Now it's just like on YouTube. That's it. So you could check it out. It's actually a banger. It's like an unmixed version. The real one is crazier. And then Joey did stuff for me for my solo stuff that'll be coming out. And then we got Nitty Scott did a lot of stuff with her. That's the homie. Homeboy Sandman, man, that's my brother. Like, we got a whole lot of songs that are out, and we have a whole EP together that's coming out. So I'm forgetting a lot of people, and they're probably gonna be mad, but yeah, I got a lot of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Going back to the collective band and like where it's at now, what is your plan for the future, and who are some of the artists you're working with, and what's the overall
Definitely.
plan?
So we have 32 people on the roster.
Damn.
So I can't really name a name because there will be some
Yeah.
butthurt people. But 57collective.com, and instead of a V, it's a number 7. 57collective.com it's a real clean, dope website, and it'll show you the roster. It'll show you all the releases, the physical stuff too. Way more than that. And I know Rick's probably over there being like, "You're forgetting stuff," but but yeah, it's run by Rick Chavez, Von Eisen, and myself, and we, and Mark Ski actually does the website too. And we just go hard releasing a ton of stuff. We've been out for a year, and we released well over 300 songs.
Wow.
And Soul Spasm's the distribution, and they believe in what we're doing. It's growing. Like, the analytics are there. You know what I'm saying? It's really growing. So what I see in the future, man, we're just sitting back and watching it grow and waiting for offers of any sort, whatever it is, kind of to come in and just weigh out the options, because I think we got leverage on this one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, that's dope. Where did Jamo Gang come into play?
Oh, okay.
And what part did the relationship with El Gan and Razcast come in?
Okay, so like I said, I met El Gan in, I guess, September or October '04. Kind of kept in touch, I guess, over the years, and just became like homies a few years later. And then Raz was in town. He was in New York, and I was a part of a show called Rap Is Out of Control with Eclipse. And I think Torre might have been the co-host as well at the time, or maybe it was Destroy. But either way, I went from being the phone guy for years to being a co-host, which was friggin' nuts, you know what I mean? So I was there, and then Raz and Gaunt were on the show, and we got, I think, pretty drunk before the show, and which sounds about right. And we did the interview, and by the end of the night, Raz was like, because I only met him once before that with him and Apollo Brown at backstage at like Cypress Hill show or something, and so you can't really build. But I was like geeking because it's Raz. I'm like, this is crazy. And then he was like, yo, this kid's cool, blah, blah, blah. After the Raps Out of Control shit, he's like, we got to get up. And then the next day, we were supposed to get up, and we couldn't because I had the Purple Tape video shoot for Method Man. So I can't miss that shit, you know what I mean? But we were supposed to get up, and it was like they last minute changed it to a day prior. And I'm like, I'm going to that shit all day, So Raz called me, he's like, what are we doing? I'm like, you're coming to this shit. And he's like, word? So him and Gaunt came to the video, Raz is in the video, we were building, we were having a good time, you know what I'm saying? And then I think the next day we got in the studio, October 2015 it might have been, and we were just getting up just so he could hear beats. He wasn't very familiar with my shit. He's like, I had a feeling you'd be dope, but I didn't know it was gonna be like this, as what he said. Like, he was blown away by the shit, and I couldn't even visualize that. I was like, honestly, like, I didn't expect him to be blown away by it. I thought he was gonna be like, it's cool, yeah, maybe there's a beat, kid, like that kind of thing, which I would have been happy with. And we knocked out 2 songs that are on the first EP. We did 2 songs on the spot. We drank a big bottle of Jamo that I got from like the store, because I didn't know what they like to drink. Like, I knew what Gaunt liked, but I didn't know what Raz liked. So I figured Jameson is a pretty easy one. So I got that. We killed it. Like, shouldn't have, but we killed it. I passed out on my couch. They went to go do Static Selector's show that night on Shade 45. Tore up. They went on there. They beasted too. They like freestyle. The freestyle was crazy. I watched it later on. But they went to go do that. I sent them the roughs of the songs, and in the subject matter, I don't remember doing this, I wrote Jamo Gang as a joke, because we killed a bottle of Jamo in a matter of hours. They did the show, they announced that we were a group on the air as a joke. So I woke up the next day with like my phone, and I open up Twitter, and it's just like, I can't wait for Jamo Gang, oh my god. I'm like, how did people know about this? Did I send the songs? Like, what did I do? I was like so like hungover. And we kind of made it a point to get in the studio again, and we knocked out a couple more songs in like Jake Palumbo's studio a couple days later. So we ended up having like 4 songs. Premier heard them, and he sat all 3 of us down separately, or at least talked to us separately, and was like, I really think you guys should make this a thing. Like, this is good for hip hop. And I was like, the GOAT speaks. I'm listening, man. And we made it a priority. He's been very helpful with overseeing a lot of the sound, like listening to stuff and coming up with ideas, and just on some big bro stuff. You know what I mean? Like real like, inspiration and reassurance in what we're doing. And like I said, we were talking before this about how I like to, oversee the stuff I produce. I'm absolutely overseeing this stuff. There's no doubt about it. But this is actually like the first time that I'm in a group of people and they're like, it's like, I wouldn't say equal say because that sounds wrong, but I don't know how else to say it, where they're like, Raz will be like, yo, I have an idea for a song structure. Like it usually is they just let me do it, and Raz is coming up with song structure and then I emulate it to how he chopped up the MP3 of what he thought was going to be the move. And I'm like, dude, this is a great structure. We're going to keep it. And like Gaunt is mad good at arranging songs as well. So I was just like, dude, we're going to get in the studio together and make the album. So we did majority of the album. We did everything EP-wise, half of it at least was in person. The other half was through email and stuff like that, which is fine. And you could never tell which one's which, is how we did it. But with the album, I'm like, we got to really be in the lab together because I had the stems for the beats. Like we could sit there with the engineer kind of like, if you have an idea for a song structure, I'm open to it. There's no ego. I'm not going to be like, it has to be my way. You know what I mean? Like, I want to hear what you have to say. And then Gaunt's like, I'm going to play the freaking bongos on this song. And we bring in bongos. And he's like, I'm open to that. You know what I mean? If it's dope. If I feel like somebody has a dope vision, if they have a good ear. And that's how the Jamo thing happened.
Where you guys at now? I know you guys got a project coming, right?
Yeah, we just signed with Fat Beats, which is 20 years in the making, like I said.
Saw the post. You started interning there.
Yeah,
20 years later, you're signed to the label.
Facts.
Congratulations.
Thank you, brother. Yeah. And, I was supposed to turn the album in a couple of days before coming here, but we there's a couple of mixes and some artwork stuff that needs to be finalized, and we don't want to half-ass anything. So, when I went to Fat Beats the other day, I was chilling with Joe Dent, shouts to him, and Ed and the whole crew, and I was explaining, I'm like, yo, I want to turn it in now, but there's a couple of things that need to be fine-tuned, not even out of my control. Yeah. So we'll be turning that in probably in the next week or two, and maybe it's in October, might be a November release, because of depending when I turn it in. You know what I mean?
What can you tell us about the project?
Yeah, so we got a bunch of the homies on the record, but we'll keep the features and stuff like that. But I'll put it this way: use your imagination. I did all the beats except for one, and the one there's two of them that I rap on, and one of them that I didn't do the beat for, I rap on that. And we're going to shoot the video in New York in a couple weeks, and it's going to be my directorial debut.
Dope, man.
And it features somebody crazy that we just struck from the record.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
super excited for that one.
Dude, that was life goals. And the guy who did the beat, life goals.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm excited for that. Well, let's get into the touring section of the podcast, man.
Sounds good.
What's on your rider? What's on the Jamo Gang rider? I can imagine
Jamo Gang. Oh well, so yeah.
What's on your personal rider? Cruise rider.
Yo, mine's weird, man. Like I'm on with the healthy stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's funny. Like I don't drink anymore. Funny enough, it's the first time publicly saying it, I guess. But I just don't want to anymore. It's nothing crazy. It used to be like bullet whiskey, bourbon, stuff like that. But now I'm just like, I want water. I want some fruit. I want some vegetables, like hummus. And it's funny because El Gaunt always makes fun of me because going to the gym and stuff, I get like amino acids and protein. He's like, yo, the Jamo rider's gonna be like, we want kale, we
organic,
want yeah, but then at the same time, we want fucking this, like Jameson, it's like the most like moderation, almost balanced thing ever, but it's not. So my shit, it's like I just want healthy shit, to be honest with you, just to not like die on tour.
Going back to that, man, there's something that I missed. I remember seeing you in the Adult Rappers DVD.
Yeah, man.
How did that come about? And just speak on that too, being like the concept of the DVD. I loved it, just watching it as like getting older, doing the music shit, and watching the people that I look up to speaking on how they've developed and grown in this game and been able to sustain a career over these years. Like, let's get into that.
Yes. Out the gate, shouts to Alaska and DJ Paul from Hangar 18. They are the reason that me and SOCOM are in that. Literally, they reached out to us and they were like, first they were like, yo, we want to get SOCOM. And I was like, all right, here, like, we'll set it up. And they're like, wait, we want you too. And I was like, all right, I'm down. So we went, and man, it was a long time ago. I want to say it was in my late 20s or something. Because I think I don't know if it made it on the DVD, but they asked me, like, when are you an adult rapper? And I'm like, when I'm 30. So I know I was definitely like, I know it was a long time ago now, but that's how it happened. It was, they reached out about getting SoulCon, and then they were like, wait, we want you too. And I was like, I'm not missing out on that shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was a blessing. And then years later, it finally came out and did its thing, and they really did a great job with it.
What's your like experience with that, and what do you have to say for like, say like a kid watching that's growing up doing this and like trying to sustain a career?
Yeah, I mean, there's two things. There's if you're lucky, you kind of. But here's the thing: I wouldn't say if you're lucky, because I don't know. Like, some people blow up real quick when they're young. Maybe they're ready for it. Like Joey Badass, he was ready for it. I knew him before he blew up. You know what I mean? He was mentally ready for it, and he could handle it. But then there's also a ton of people, a list that we can't even, like, it's too long to even say, where like you hear about them today and they're young and they're crazy at what they do and they're the biggest thing, and everyone's like, how did he just come out of nowhere? And then a year later, you never hear about him again. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's a double-edged sword. You know what I mean? Being successful early on. For me personally, I'm glad I wasn't, because I don't think I would have been able to handle it. I wouldn't be as refined as an artist, and I might have said some dumb shit. Who knows? I might have said something cocky in an interview that like ruins it forever.
I would have beat somebody up, or I would have got like, or I would have overdosed on drugs or some shit.
Probably that too for
or
me.
Probably, or died of AIDS. One of the
probably
three,
that too for me as well. So like real talk. So, but like that's like old me. Yeah, somebody would have got beat up really bad. I probably got like jail. Go to jail for that. Like that's old me though. But yeah, man. There's that part, and then there's also the part like like me I've been grinding forever with this shit, you know what I mean? And like I said, I'm refined as an artist. I can work with anybody in any genre at this point, you know what I mean? Because I got so many different weapons, you know what I'm saying, that I could just pull from and I can utilize them. Yeah. And they're good weapons. They're not like decent, you know what I mean? And that's from the years of doing it. And that's the other half of it, you know what I'm saying? So my advice is, like, if you are like me and it takes a long time, in retrospect it really isn't, I guess, but it is. I mean, you gotta fucking want this shit, because it's hard. Like, it just got good. Like, just, a handful of years ago. Because before that, it was, like, depressingly bad. Even though, like, I'll be going to another country, and people are like, oh, I'm a big fan they know all my shit. And then, and I just, like, at that time, I couldn't even, like, pay my rent. But they don't know that shit, you know what I mean? Because it's the independent hustle, and the internet plays a part of it, where it's, like, things seem bigger than they are. But like now I'm at the point where at least I leveled up, and now I'm actually living that good ass life, and I'm grateful as fuck, and knock on wood, because I never want to go back to that shit. And just listen to how I said all that. If you're willing to deal with that shit, you will get it if you're good enough at what you do, and if you keep the grind going. But if you're weak, man, you'll never do it.
Yeah, this game will eat you alive.
It'll eat you alive, and like, or you might be lucky and you get big as a young kid. But like I said, not everybody's Joey Badass, where their mind is like on some other shit. You know what I mean? So it's a tough one.
Yeah, man. Thanks for touching on that, dude. Back to the touring stuff. What's the jankiest promoter move someone has tried to pull on you guys, or on you as a solo act?
I was talking to Rick. Yeah, I was just telling Rick about that. I'm like, yo, like back in the day, they're like, all right, so you know how we said X amount of dollars? Well, we kind of only have this, and they're like talking to me like I'm just gonna be like, yeah, man, it's cool. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna like get the crew. I'm gonna beat their ass. You know what I mean? Like. There was definitely a couple of times where that kind of shit happened. And it was weird because it happened one time out of the country, and I was like, are we going to jail in another country today? And I don't want to do any of that shit. You know what I mean? I just want to get my money and do my show and continue to be grateful enough to rock a stage in front of people who are paying to see us in another country. Like, that's amazing. But, like, those were definitely the ones, like, the people who were like, let's just say it was this amount of money, and they're like, they have this much, they're saying.
Man,
Yeah. I'm like, well, the ATM's right over here. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was the worst. That was the worst part of the whole shit. But I didn't give up. Now we're in a place where that will never happen again. But it did back in the day. That shit sucked.
Let's talk about PTSD as an artist, post-tour stress disorder. The coming home from tour and just like the unwinding and the feeling. Not a lot of people know what that feeling is, man. And I think it was ASCAP recently published like a letter about it, stating that this is something that artists suffer from.
Literally is.
And speak on it.
Yeah, luckily it hasn't.
Somebody that don't know,
Yeah, I know from a little bit of experience, but I'm usually so exhausted by the end of it that I'm like cool with being, and I'm so busy with the music side, like as a producer and an artist, that it doesn't really affect me that badly. That badly, it does, but not like my buddies who are like rappers and they're like depressed. People get depressed. I mean, you got to think about a lot of different factors, like in the psyche of it. It's a high, like you're going places where people are saying that you're good at something. That's validation. You know what I mean? Like just the human thing about it. Like you get that over and over and over. You live in a great time, like living a great life. You worked your ass off to get there. You're partying every night if that's your thing. Like then you go home and the party's over. Nobody's around. Nobody's telling you you're great. You have no human interaction if that's what you crave. I'm introverted and extroverted, so for me, I could go on tour for a month, be great, and then I get back and I'm fucking exhausted because it's like that's a lot for me. You know what I mean? Yeah. But there's people who just want to be around people and whatever else, and those are usually the people, unfortunately, that like they feel like shit afterwards. And I get it to a small degree. I really do understand it.
What would be your advice? Like staying busy, having that next project and stuff?
Yeah, staying busy. The second you get off the road, get settled for a quick second, and before you let that shit set in, get right in the lab, do what you're put here to do.
Yeah, that's what everybody usually says is the best.
Okay.
Just start working on the next project. Don't give yourself time to reflect. It's like,
reflection.
We're already on to the next thing.
Exactly.
Favorite city?
Tough one, man. It's such a tough one. It's a really tough one. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I gotta go with New York, man. No offense to anybody.
Just the speed, everything. Just
it's my favorite city. You know what I'm saying? I'm a New Yorker, born and raised. You know, growing up Long Island, lived in Brooklyn 10 years. Like, it is what it is. Like, that's gotta be my favorite.
It's in you.
It's kind of messed up if it wasn't. To be honest, that'd be weird. You know what I mean?
What about your least favorite?
Least favorite? Oh man. Well, I mean, whatever I'm about to say, we can't book that on the tour apparently because I'll get killed. You know what, man? I don't really have one. I really don't have one. Like I went to Montana once, and that's a random state though, for me personally. As a human being, like I never thought there would be people to come see me in Montana. That's just a fact. Those two cities were like some of the best fucking shows I've ever had in my life. You know what I mean? So I really don't have a beef with anything. You know.
Best show.
Best show. Maybe Ipswich in the United Kingdom.
It's a festival?
No, you know Buddha French? Do you know him?
No.
Okay, check him out. I produced a lot of stuff for him, but dope MC from Ipswich. That's where what's his name? Ed Sheeran's from. He like came up with Ed Sheeran, and Ed Sheeran was like I think a rapper at the time or something like that. So I knew about him beforehand because of Buddha French telling me. But I want to say it was.
Does Ed Sheeran have bars?
I think. Oh, he said he does. Yeah, I don't know if I ever heard it. He might have played me some shit. I think he was like rapping over like Ninth Wonder beats. Back in the day and shit. Yeah, for real.
Gotta YouTube this dude.
Yeah, I think you probably find it. Yeah, I think you might be able to find it. So he like is from that. I think he's from Ipswich. But my man Buddha French, like on my birthday, February. I guess it was the night going into February 6th, so February 5th, my pops' birthday. We did probably my favorite show. Yeah, we probably did my favorite show, and it's just obviously it was a packed place, and that was a cool part of it, but I guess maybe it was like being in another country on my birthday and like just the love. It was just dope, you know?
Worst show?
I mean, there's a list from hard days, man.
Yeah,
hard times.
We like talking about those, you know what I mean?
It's such a big list. I can't pick out which is the worst one. There were so many, back in the day. There were so many crazy ones, and then there'd be some really bad ones where it's like nobody.
I mean, like, not even necessarily just like we all have the nobody shows, but what is like any show? Have you ever get bomb bottles thrown at you or anything?
All right. So I wouldn't say this is the worst show, but back in the day, Brown Bag was doing a show in Queens, and it was like this weird kind of like industrial type thing, like behind a skateboard shop in Queens. And I don't know who else was on the bill. I believe it was Children of the Night, like World's Fair, like those little homies. Well, Children of the Night are. I don't know how or why, but I remember rapping, and then I look up and I see E Holla not behind the turntables, but in the crowd breaking up a fight from one of our boys. Like it was in the fight or whatever. I wouldn't say that was the worst show by any means, but it kind of sucked that the set got cut like short because one of the homies couldn't chill and he had to like fight somebody and ruin the whole show and became a riot.
He had to like jump off stage?
No, he was just in the crowd and he was fighting, and E Holla jumped off stage, which is funny on like a lot of levels. He jumped off stage to get in the crowd and like break up the fight, which like nobody was doing in the crowd.
Yeah.
They were just letting like a melee happen almost, and we got in there and we nobody fought. Like we just like broke it up because it was our boy, and one of us knew the other guy. It was like a really bad misunderstanding, but it ruined the show, and like it was like almost a stampede of people leaving and shit.
Yeah.
And that shit could have gone really bad. So in my opinion, that might have been our worst show, but at the same time, kind of a fun show.
I got you. Let's what are some of the craziest tour stories, man? I need to pull at least 3 out of you.
We'll give you 3 that I can say on camera.
We gotta keep them like PG-13.
Right,
you know what
right.
I mean? But I mean, best experiences, anything, you know what I mean? Even just like a nerdy hip-hop moment that you had like on a random night or whatever. Just
what are
3 amazing tour stories that you got for us?
Okay. I mean, off the bat, I think it was Tulsa. We did a show there, and I don't know why, but I felt like from the vibe of the crowd, I didn't think they like knew who I was or some shit, and like mad people came with vinyl that I've been a part of and stuff and had me like signing it, and the shock value of it for me, like how I was just like, I can't believe like they really know, you know what I'm saying? Like that was really dope, and since then I'm like, I want to go back to that city. Like they showed so much love, so that's like a light story, you know what I mean? But like story wise, all right. So my little homie Kataya One, dope MC producer, he's on the label 57 Collective. I mean, I hope he's okay with me telling this one. We were at my man DJ Goo's crib in Phoenix, and I think it was an off night on tour and shit, and DJ Goo was an original member of Brown Bag. You know, he's still part of the family, but he was an original member, and he moved back to Phoenix. And we got, messed up, chilling, drinking till 8 o'clock in the morning, I think it might have been. And I think it ended at 8 because it ended with Goo being like, yo, your man just passed out in the bathroom. And I had to like, Weekend at Bernie style, pick up Kataya and like put him like on my back because he's like, he's taller than me. You know what I'm saying? He's heavy. So I had to like carry him out like it was like a fucking war movie. And like they opened the tour van, I had to like throw him in there, and then they started filming me like doing like elbow drops on him and shit. And he was out cold. He didn't wake up. It was amazing. And that's little bro. I love him to death. But that was definitely a good time. Another like semi-wholesome one. Man, I'm trying to think. I don't know. There's a lot of shit.
I don't want no wholesome stuff. Give me the.
I don't know, yo.
You can change dates. You can change names. You can change states if you have to. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I mean, all right. So let me think. All right, Jamo Gang. We went to Canada last year. There was so much stuff that happened. Oh, okay. The first 3 shows ended with fucking the cops coming and fights happening in front of the shows. Like that was our first tour together as a crew. And I remember us being in the vehicle, and we're like, okay, this is what we're doing. Like, this is the kind of clientele we bring out. And Razzy's like, yo, let them put on a show, man. It's fun. Like, you know, and I'm like, dude, we gotta get the fuck out of here. We're in another country. But like the first 3 shows, I thought maybe that's the kind of fan base we had because I didn't know yet. You know what I mean? And it just happened to be the first 3. Like, I think we were in Toronto when that one happened, and they were fucking some dude up, and like it was like a big war going on outside that came from the show. Like a lot of crazy shit was going on out there. So I was just like, yeah, I think we're gonna have to scrap soon. Like, it didn't turn out to be that way, but that.
There was a fight at every show.
The first 3 shows.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
the first one wasn't even in Canada. It was like I think New Hampshire or something like that. We just did one before going in to Canada. Came down and did like Seattle and Portland, or vice versa, whatever it was. And the first one was a fight outside that ended super dramatically. I was like, I just want to go to sleep. Can we just leave? But it was like it was whack. And then the second one, the second one wasn't a fight actually. The third one was a fight, and then the fourth one was Toronto, and that was like. I thought somebody was gonna get shot. Like it looked crazy. Like, the Toronto dudes do not fuck around. So yeah.
What are 3 things that you have to have with you on tour?
3, just 3. 1, my laptop. 2, my phone. 3, like vitamins, so I don't get sick.
What's your like pastime? Are you a reader? You listen to music?
Yeah, I listen to a lot of music. I don't read often. I'm not proud of it, but I don't read often. I've been reading the Beastie Boys book that Rick hooked me up with, though. That shit is dope. What else? Yeah, I listen to a lot of music. I like movies. I'm not a movie buff by any means, but I like that shit. I've been really like trying to learn how to cook because I never had to do that until like last year or this year or some shit, which is kind of embarrassing, but at the same time, not really. So I've been like trying to learn how to cook, which is cool. And I'm actually in a place mentally to do it because before I'd be like, I gotta eat fast because I gotta get back in the studio.
Yeah.
Like, that's a mentality. I've been trying to like chill on that and going to the gym. I love working out and all that shit. Skateboarding, I like doing that shit too.
Cool,
not very good at it, but I like it.
Let us know where we can find you. Let the people know.
Okay, yeah. 57
Social,
Collective.
website, all that.
Yeah, we got 57collective.com. We got my Instagram is letter J number 5 number 7 music. And then you can check 57 Collective on there too. We got Jamo Gang is on there too. No Brown Bag All Stars on there, but on Twitter we have Brown Bag All Star. No Jamo Gang though. And then me on Twitter is just J57. And I don't really like Twitter though, but Instagram's cool. So hit me on there.
Appreciate the time, man.
Well,
Thanks for
thank you,
coming
man.
checking us out.
Yes, sir.
Can't wait to rock with you on the music
Yes,
shit.
sir.
And we'll be back, man. Peace.
Peace.